mind right or wrongfully. I slip blindly past the friends to my friends, took up back the time more forcefully. But if the bottles I got, we killed each one. And the tables full and overflow. The corner sign says it's closing time. So I'll bid farewell and be down the road. Oh, every girl that ever I've touched, I did not do it harmfully. And every girl that ever I hurt, I did not do it knowingly. They remain as friends and make amends. We need the time and stay behind. Since my feet now fast, I'm recovering from the past. I'll bid farewell and be down the line. Oh, every fool that ever I fought, the cause was there before we came. Every cause that ever I fought it for without regret or shame. But the dark does die as the curtain is drawn, and somebody's eyes must be gone. If I see the deed, all we have to sleep. So I'll bid farewell as the night is gone. Every thought that sprung not in my mind, I might go insane if it be sprung. And it's not to stand naked under unknowing eyes, it's for myself and my friends that my stories are spun. But the time ain't told, yet I'm trying to depend. And no word is possessed by no special friend. Though the line is cut, it ain't quite the end. So I'll bid farewell till we meet again. and the dust of roses cover. But if the arrow is straight and the point is slight, it can pierce through glass no matter how thin. So I'll take my stand. I remain as I am, and I'll bid farewell and I get laid down. I've been home for kisses, and you're dressing down. Well, what do you want to do? I know thoughts inside your head. What is it to you? What are we coming to? What are we going to do? The red on the black sky is a red on the falling sky. All red on the satellite, which means that's fine. Troubled heart is a troubled mind. I try to understand what is easy. I try to stay awake, but it's been 58 hours since I've last slept with you. What are we coming to? Just don't know. I'm laying around the black star. Yes, I'm laying around the falling sky. I'm laying around the satellite. this time around, now that I don't think of you. I'm falling over, I keep passing out when I see a face like yours. I've got to. I'm going out now. I've been on the black side. Yes, I went on the cold side. Oh, I went on the satellite, which means that's yes, I get on my train and I'm the same round that I know from you. I keep falling over, I keep passing out when I see a face like yours. I've got to know. I'm going out now. I'm waiting on the black side. Yes, I'm waiting on the water sky. I'm waiting on the satellite. You got yeah, this is good. Yeah, this is good. I give thee all I can, no more, though worthy of me. My heart and lips were all the stone that I can give to you. A lute whose gentle song reveals the soul of you beg for a heart that feels much more than lute can tell. and some may fail, alas, to keep life's clouds away. At least it'll make them bright, circle them if they stay. And even if cares at moments flare, discord our lives have its trying. Oh, let love but gently touch the strings, 'twill all be sweet again. Oh, let love but gently touch the strings, 'twill all be sweet again. Hello, my friends. Greetings. How are you doing? Let me dwell on that parting musical sentiment for a second or two and say cheers. Shalom to love to everyone, okay? Let love will gently touch the strings. So what does that mean? Different things to different people. How are you doing? It's been a while, right? It's been a while since I've been on my own, talking to my own personal monitor. How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, let me say how's it going? Welcome. Hope all is well. Comment briefly before I forget everything. Preparing, and I haven't even prepared the songs tonight, so that was unrehearsed. So I hope it came across okay. The first song, brilliant, Restless Farewell. It relates back to, remember in the old days I used to play Parting Glass as a parting gesture. Bob Dylan took that melody, an old traditional Irish song, and crafted Restless Farewell from it. So when I began with it, whereas before I ended with it. Actually, there's an interesting story to that, because that's one of, I reckon anyway, was it the first? Remember the first or the second? Anyway, it was probably the second. Bob Dylan, who was giving us a message via his album. I can't remember what album that was at, but that was the last song on that particular album. So it was suspected maybe Nashville Skyline was the following album, and that was definitely a Bob Dylan fake. So the guy who played the part beforehand, they wanted to change it up a bit. So that was his message to us in time, I guess. But he took that from Parting Glass, which is an old Irish traditional song. So I played that to begin with, and it wasn't so smooth as I probably get it said unrehearsed. But what I did do, I normally play that. I can play that great, and I know perfectly in D. And it's actually suits my voice better. I should get a D harmonica. Oh, all the money that in my whole life I did spend, being mine right now, wrong way. See the way it flows a bit better, but I tried to get the harmonica in a bit. So yeah, the best solution would be to get a D harmonica, for which you need money, right? So that's a different matter. We'll make do with what we got, and if there's errors or mistakes or slip-ups, fuck it, right? You know, no disrespect to anyone, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So yeah, that was the first song, Restless Farewell. Look it up. I can post a link if anyone wants it. Just go into YouTube, Restless Farewell, Bob Dylan. All Bob Dylan's songs are encoded. Bob Dylan is a corporation. The Beatles were a corporation. So within their offerings to us, you find the clues, but you're not going to give a fuck. Are you? First of all, if you realize there's clues within these songs leading to a greater sort of outcome, you might say, so what? Because you don't give a fuck. So you have to sort of give a fuck and then come to maybe possibly realizing or understanding that there's something to realize from these things. If you don't, and then you don't, and that leaves you somewhere else. On your own, of course, normally, naturally, has to be. The only way it can be, the way it's designed to be. Hey, how you doing? So so the second song was Radiohead, Black Sun. Don't get me talking about the Black Sun. The Black Sun is Herodotus. Look up Herodotus. I can post it on my own. What do you call it here? I probably should do, but it just take too long talking about it then. But Herodotus, crater Herodotus on the moon. Remember I told you before about if you imagine Aristarchus to be a bicycle wheel with all its bells and whistles, but I'm talking about the hub, the spokes, the bearings inside, the tube itself, the spoke connectors, everything, right? So including the outer tube and the what do you call it? The tire itself. So everything. So that's Aristarchus. Herodotus is the fucking tire, right? So everything else then, because there's a massive big hole in the center, a vacancy. When we're told this, when we come to flat Earth, and Earth isn't flat, by the way. I mean, Earth is flat in relation to the spinning ball Earth, but Earth isn't flat because we haven't defined what Earth is, what our home is. How are you going to be king or queen of a place unless you don't know what that place consists of? Honestly though, imagine that was the quest here. And I'm just looking at myself in I was almost punching my nose because it looks so askew here. In the mirror, it's perfectly straight. My nose is perfectly straight. In whatever way, I think it's the CIA or something. It definitely is Irish. What's the Irish equivalent of the CIA? Fucking with my, what do you call it? To make me punch myself in the nose to get my nose right. No, yeah. Well, what is the equivalent of the Irish CIA? I fucking dealt with them all anyway, that's for sure. Jesus, I have so much to tell you. So much to tell you about since the last time. When was the last time, actually? It was about 3 or 4 months ago, I think. But I have so much to tell you. I see, that's what I'm saying. Where do I begin? If I brought up a picture of Herodotus, that's what I was talking about, but just briefly. Herodotus. When we come to flat Earth, anything's directly before us is our biggest clue. That's the moon. Before that, the clouds, right? Everything's enclosed. It's waters beyond. You soon come to that mode of thinking. You can't help it. Your brain, if you ask the question, if you're interested, even if you're not interested, subliminally, it's been projected at you from all sides. So if you do, or when you do, turn your mind towards it, yeah, accepting these things, we live in a flat plane in relation to the ball Earth, but we live in an enclosed area more specifically. So what we decide replaces the vacuum of space is saline waters beyond. Or immediately you're after debunking Einstein. You, my friend, can debunk Einstein instantaneously. Ask him for what he admitted it himself. There's no optical way of proving that Earth moves as opposed to the greater universe. So he admitted it himself. So if that's not the case, that is not part of reality. So if it cannot be shown to be the case, well, everything that follows from him and his cohorts, that's a good word, his cohorts, he's perverted cohorts almost in a sense. Einstein, remember, Einstein stole all his work. He's great. He's the best of his work from his wife, who, when he became famous, he left, according to the story anyway, he left for his cousin. And they went off and interchanged. Now, the next story is that Einstein was a tranny, so he wasn't even a male. So, I mean, where do you land on all of this sort of stuff? I think the one thing is, have no heroes. Have no heroes. If you don't know exactly why someone is not a hero to you, then don't put him up as a hero. Be your own hero in that sense. Because this is a massive deception, but it's not really, it's life. This is the greater game in play. So we can either come to realize it or not. In our brain, doesn't matter. You can't fucking do anything. What are you going to do? Lead an army? What are you going to do? Who are you going to tell? Who are you going to tell? Who are you up against? You're either fucking doomed or you're saved. Honestly, that's the only two options. But Herodotus, the Black Sun. So it goes back to this. I'll finish this in a second. So as by Radiohead, I could get onto another massive tangent regarding Radiohead, but Black Sun is Herodotus for me, and you can just Google it yourself. If I brought up the image, then again, I'll be talking for ages. Radiohead, they're the band who were given the gig of producing the 9/11 soundtrack. So remember, 9/11 is a, what do you call it? Pre-prepared movie. The airwaves are overtaken, right? Uh, the play button was pressed, and the whole of the world saw. Times are confusing. There's many, many interesting stories regarding and actually what time 9/11 was broadcast. And I have even a more interesting story. But ultimately, all across the world, we were privy to a movie, and it was a 102-minute movie when the first plane struck to when the second building fell. Now, if it was a movie, as it was a movie, you're saying, Pete, what do you mean it was a movie? The buildings fell. Of course, the buildings fell. They didn't fall the way you saw them falling, or I saw them falling. We weren't privy to that. They threw up probably a smoke screen, or me talking about this. Go to September Clues, let's roll forums, and where you'll hear people like me, and obviously agents involved as well, people contributing in a general and well, plenty of them anyway, in a forthright way, sort of an ardent way, because you're passionate about these things. So when you're trying to expose a lie, yeah. There's lots of passion involved. Anyway, Radiohead, so taking it that was a movie presented to us, every movie, every great blockbuster, which was 9/11, in fact, literally a blockbuster, has a great soundtrack. What's the great soundtrack to 9/11? Well, that's Kid A from 2000, which was a Radiohead album. You could say, Pete, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, I didn't mean to go on here. That's what I'm saying. I went from Herodotus. People don't even know what I'm talking about anyway. Herodotus to Radiohead, but that's via me just talking about the songs at the start, right? I haven't even got to the third one. But anyway, that's the Black Sun and Radiohead. It's all connected. So Radiohead having that premium position to play in the greatest transitional event, if you want, presentation of our time. Well, it all counts. So the album is Kid A, released in 2000, 10 songs. Song number 10, motion picture soundtrack, final song. So they told you there. Now, later on in investigations, it turns out that the lead singer is Thom Yorke. Well, Thom Yorke was the lead singer, but his nickname is Dodo. And he is band members with the Greenwoods. So that's, another massive connection. And as you know, if you're listening to me, the dodo is the land. It's the tree cut, looking down on it in its inundated form. So it's where the stump is jutting up above the invading waters. That's it. That's the dodo as it jumps out of Gleason's map. So what's it the stump of? Well, that's Aristarchus. So Thom Yorke being nicknamed Dodo, and Greenwoods. Well, where do you find trees? Can you see the wood from the trees? But that's the second song. So just divert into that. But the third song then is My Heart in Louvre. Now, I mean, more than ever, that song is pertinent. And look, I realize at this stage, it comes down to you. What do you know about what's going on in someone else's life? What do you know about it? What's going on, not to mind someone else's life, someone else's head? We don't know anything about anything. If we're following these things, we're following them. If we're not, we're not. That's as simple as that. I've always realized fundamentally I'm here talking to myself. Who cares? But at the same time, there is a greater puzzle in play, and all of these facilities were given us for a certain reason. Who gave them to us? Well, come to Flat Earth. Let me hear of any Flat Earth. I'm not using these terms openly because they're so loaded, right? Atheist. When we break down that word, it's very interesting to break it down. I said that the S tone, the stone, is the S tone, which is the TH. So you have the TH, which is the theist, right? And then when you go against the TH, you have the atheist. So A representing anti. And I've yet to meet any overt flat Earth atheists outside of any fakes, but it's sort of a logical reasonable conclusion once you come to an enclosed Earth, we're center of our universe anyway. There could be millions of bubbles like Earth, um, around. Who's to say? Who's to say? But certainly, yeah, we're in the center of our universe, and the sun and all the stars revolve around us because they have a primary central source. Stands to reason. Stands to reason. We're coming up to Christmas time, Xmas time, where we get the tree and we reconnect it, right, on the X. Father X, as a good one, I was mentioning this earlier. Yeah, Father Christmas, Father Xmas, Santa comes down the chimney. Santa and I remember Satan, but you strip Santa bare and you sort of you put him on the treadmill for a while. You'd have a hard time distinguishing him from God, wouldn't you? Maybe God is playing the role. Is it beyond God to play roles? I know. Leave that with you. But the what do you call it? The third song, just to finish up on the music, I hope it came across okay. My Heart in Loot. What a great story attached to that. There's honestly there's a book in that. I'm telling you, there's a book in that to be a bestseller because no one else is talking about it, and also because it's connecting threads from the ages passed on through all the different actors. I'm happy enough to think that the story is already written. So as we're one player in the game, well, I've sort of advanced along the board somewhat. And that's all. And I freely report everything. Fuck money, money. I mean, you're wealthier than anything. I mean, they're paper notes that can't describe or define you, even though everything is determined in this seeming day and age, whenever you decide that is, by all of these so-called notes. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what determines what. We'll see what the measure of anything is. What's the measure of a man, John Watson? What do you reckon, John? We've been in this arena a long time, bud. How you doing, by the way? What's the measure of a man these days? Tumanoid, how you doing, bud? Tumanoid says Vanilla Sky opens with wait. That's right. Oh, don't get me started on that. So I'll maybe have an interaction. I don't have too much to talk to. I'll talk about. I said I have loads to talk about. Maybe sing a few songs in the meantime. Vanilla Sky and Radiohead, excellent. The whole premise of the movie itself, and of course it was one of the earliest movies. In reality, they actually did this. In reality, they vacated Times Square. They filmed it at 4 o'clock in the morning or something. It's very interesting regarding 9/11 that Spider-Man was the first movie that featured an all CGI New York backdrop. That came out the same year before 9/11 happened. All clues for us. All clues for us in terms of any of these presentations and greater connections. I've posted many times the 2015 Economist cover magazine, and the solution being Mauritius and the Dodo bird. But Spider-Man features prominently there, and 9/11 does, as it always does. So where are all these things leading? I guess you're either, you're thinking about them or you're not. You can't. What? I guess maybe in a sense, you could be answering clues that you don't know are listed in a greater crossword, but you're paying attention to other sources. But if you're particularly looking at a crossword and you're trying to answer clues, well, then everything will have a direct association, or potentially anyway at this stage. Hello, John. How you doing, bud? Yeah, it's been a while, right, man? How many years has it been at this stage? How's Pancho Pete doing, man? The last I heard of Pancho Pete was sad news, and he was separated from his child because of all of this. But I'm not sure what to believe anymore. I was always not sure about Pete's association with Antonio Subirats. So I'm not sure what to believe anymore. But there's always a way around everything, and even still, everything for a reason. That's the only way we can look at all of our experiences. Be true unto yourself. That no matter what you do, even if you did nothing, be true unto yourself as much as you can, and maybe everything will work out all right. But who knows in these times? I don't even think you can say the Corona word these days. Not to mind me singing Corona's my song. It's just the name of my song is Corona's a hoax. Well, I mean, I don't think we can do that. If you said Corona's a hoax, the chances are that something would happen. If you said it outside of what I'm saying, it of course, because I'm just saying that's the name of my song. I mean, if I was to sing a song, that's not making any particular statement. I mean, you can't say I can't sing a politically loaded song in a sense, because then you'd stop me singing songs like, I don't know, well, you name it, but no, that's not a political. Is that a political? Would you say that's a politically loaded song? Let me see. Oh, yeah. Since there's no agenda for tonight, I get a few more songs. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before she can sleep in the sand? How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever bare? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing. That's a politically loaded song, isn't it? Of course, and it continues, and let's list the other ones. So, what are you going to do? Yeah, we're in the 21st century, right? The age of freedom. Oh, I won't talk to you. I might talk to you a bit later on, depending on how long I'm on, about my experiences over the last few days. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. Honest to God, you wouldn't believe it. But yeah. Now, come on. Okay, well, before I do that, so John says, let me put a few comments on chat. How you doing, everyone? By the way, great to talk, I guess. Whoever's listening, Teddy C, hey man, Teddy C is another one who's been there from the start. Fucking hell, bud. What are we to make of all of this? Item gin smell. Okay, I smell of beer. Although I've had 5 beers, but I spent the day at the hospital as well. Nothing fucking happened. So sick of it at this stage. But yeah, this is my last beer, and it's sort of a shandy as well. So there's no gin smell. But how you doing? YouTube, how you doing, Ute? All the lads are here. Chris, hello, Chris. Chris, fellow Limerick man, who at earlier times his ancestry moved over to England. Hello, Chris. How you doing, bud? King Manny. Hello, James Richard. Some name definitely ringing bells. I don't know what that is. 133 Jack. Hello, bud. The dodo will lead us to freedom. Well. The unicorn. You might as well say the unicorn will lead us to freedom, right? Neither exist, although both exist in a more real sense than anything else. It's a symbolic sense, and what it actually leads to. Every picture paints 1,000 words. P. Mars. That's another name I haven't heard in a long while, man. And Brian, how you doing, Brian? Brian Leakey. I could do that. I might do that actually, Brian, because Brian says Lakes of Plancha train. I might do that, Brian, because I haven't played in ages. I've been injured recently. I've got a sad story to tell in a sense, but I've been injured recently and I haven't been able to busk or anything like that. So when I played those songs earlier on, it was literally, after, just not being too into it or not having reason to, or the ability to go out and play publicly. But I'll do that. So let me have, I'm going to roll a number. And actually, while I'm having a little break, I'm going to play you something very important. And I played it the last time, but I think it's, although it's about 19 minutes long, so it's probably a bit too long. Um, but maybe I'll cut it up in half. So I'll maybe have a 7 or 8 minute break, and I'll cut it up in half because when I tell you where I think it leads, because it's a greater game. It's a greater game, and it's like if you start at the beginning of a cryptic crossword, you're doing well. You're doing fucking excellently to work it out from the start. That's like whatever IQ, you know. But as we progress, then, and especially as everything is sort of designed to coincide, then the clues become simpler. The clues become easier until eventually whatever you do with your, fucking dumbass. I should have got it years ago or whatever. I think that's the sort of way, NASA fakery being a big one. How fucking difficult is it? How difficult, first of all, would they be able to fake it in the same way that as some of the stuff that they present? That's very hard to explain when NASA. Um, it's like a straw man in a sense. You can imagine it as a manipulative technique, right? So they present you loads of nonsense and bollocks, and then you go around telling your friends, NASA's fake. You haven't looked at the ISS footage. And then suddenly all of the bunkers come along and present you a 45-minute movie where it's fucking, how are you going to debunk that? Everyone seems like they're fucking floating around. And how could it work otherwise? Where are the camera cuts? You've got to be careful in one sense. But yeah, of course they could have that same quality, great quality presented throughout, but they don't. So whoever they is, there's a different reason. That's all I'm trying to get you to consider, not you, whoever you are, but just to consider in general. It's different minds in play here, and one of George Bush's aides, Karl Rove was his name. He was asked a few questions on camera, whether it was live TV, whether he was pushed or whether it was all rehearsed. It was probably all rehearsed, But he made a point, or he directed something towards, let's say, conspiracy-minded people. He said, no matter how far you think you've come, we're always 10 steps ahead. And of course they are. Of course they are. But don't bring out the fucking bells and whistles because, I don't know, you figured man didn't go to the moon, for instance. Stanley Kubrick's wife. Remember that? It's a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. Stanley Kubrick's wife only came out with a few other insiders making a documentary on it all. Bart Sibrel was led into the company of all of the astronauts to ask him the same question. Will you swear in the Bible that you went to the moon? So you got to sort of think beyond that. If you're not thinking beyond that, but then the conversation sort of, I would say, drifts anyway. That's the best way I can put it. It drifts. I can keep talking, but you won't keep listening. But I don't care if you listen or not. Who am I talking to? But yeah, I'll do that, Brian. There's a great brain there in Flat Earth, Brian Leakey. I was banned from GeoServer, Earth Awakening's Discord server, the only server I'm a part of, really. Brandon Toys as well, but Brandon, it's sort of defunct at this stage, so that's the only server I was part of. But yeah, John Watson, Brenda beat me down and got me erased. I feel like Patricia Steer, just completely erased. But Brenda beat me down. I was having a little discussion about something else, and Brenda jumped in with his or her usual denial tactics, which lead to frustration and lead to leads to anger. You know what I mean? But yeah, so be it. I generally tend to get banned from everywhere. The only other place I was I frequented was IPS's Discord, Tim Osman. Normally you had to pay €2 a month or $2 a month or something, but I said I'm not paying anything. Tim, if you want to send me an invite, I'll contribute in what way I can. So I did contribute for a while, just being myself, right? But yeah, everything turns sour. Everything turns sour, of course, when you get too close to the truth. And I never pretended from the start that I wasn't dealing with. I never pretended that I didn't know that Tim was an actor put in place. He's after taking over the reins from Mark Sargent. Mark Sargent was Mr. Flat Earth. Remember, Mark Sargent was on every TV, pretty much every TV station, every major city. Well, not every major city, but every continent. Hundreds of channels he did interviews on, talking about Flat Earth. You don't hear about him anymore. It all culminated in his and sort of the Potato Crew. What do you call it? Cooperation in and with the Beyond the Curve. Is it Beyond the Curve or behind the curve? No, hang on. What was it? Behind the Curve. Behind the Curve, sort of implying a certain retardation. And of course, the whole of the Flat Earth argument was presented in an absolutely ass-backwards way, deliberately. And don't you know it then, after that, Patricia Steere disappears, and her whole channel, her whole history, her whole entity disappears. And would you believe that Patricia's Miss Flat Earth? Who else is? Can you name a replacement? Who would you believe? Seen by millions on Netflix, right? Netflix. I'm the only one Patricia named personally. She named, so I've had lots of trouble, and people like Pete Shea forced me off YouTube and forced me to delete my whole being. Me, personally, no one else. She didn't even say Antonio Subarets, who said I was born with a Mickey. I never said that. I'm saying that Antonio said that, and we look into the evidence. It's pretty, something's going on. Something's dodgy. That's all I ever said. To do a few analysis myself, as I'm prone to do. But if that shows someone in a bad light who is playing a part to begin with, that's not my fault. That's not my fault. I don't mean any ill harm. If you're clear, your character will stand up. You know, there's nothing that anyway, that's a different story. And that is a long story in itself. So what time is it here? It's 0034. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Felix, no way. My booger. I don't think I do. Oh, but we were talking about a moustache here. Oh, that's my walrus moustache. Remember the walrus's Paul? The walrus's Paul, Felix, is the walrus moustache found underneath the dodo's wing from, I think we've been through this before. Remember these times? But that's an amazing discovery. I think that's the best fucking treasure in history found. Underneath the dodo's wing, there is a face, right? And that face features a walrus moustache. And that's the face of Paul / Paul McCartney. And according to the official story, the original etching was lost. 1 out of 92 was lost, and the rest of them were recovered. And that was where Alice met the dodo. So the only problem between the original and the copy, which all other publications were based on, the 91 originals and the one copy, because they couldn't find the original, that was the dodo and Alice, right? So the difference being that it contained more detail. It was finer artwork, right? Because they were the original etchings. And for the purposes of mass publication, they transferred them onto metal or some form of metal anyway. And what that did is allow greater publication numbers. But this is according to the story, bullshit story. It took away from some of the clarity. But when you actually have this is how I can get so diverted. So anyway, when you have a side-by-side of the etching I found, which says the original, and one of the copies, which every other publication was built on, including everything on the internet. Dave High, asked Dave High about this. He was going, Pete, where are you getting this face? Anywhere else, I can't find it. It was only on one particular version, which was the Sabian version. And that featured in more detail. You could see the beginnings of the detail in the copy, but in more complete form, you could see the face. It was actually a face, and pretty much like my face. It was like, anyway, I could go into the detail there. But the walrus's Paul is the walrus moustache. It's also a reference to the walrus and the carpenter. The walrus is the carpenter. The walrus and the carpenter. Yeah, it is. Look for a clue here, Felix. Go to Disney's 1951 production of Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass, and find the part where they go through the walrus and the carpenter story. Pay attention. Very good. If I tell you, right, okay, well, oysters, 12 oysters, right? Oyster turns out to be the answer to the White Queen's riddle to Alice before Alice receives her crown. Oyster or I star. Of course, I star, R I star, cos CHUS. But yeah, how you doing? All the old stock are turning up again. But yeah, sorry about that, Tumnite. Vanilla Sky, brilliant, brilliant movie, and everything connects, right? Radiohead. So much more to say. Well, yeah, Tom York is the salamander as well as the dodo, and a salamander regrows a missing limb. So this is beyond the dodo. So the tree is cut. The tree is Aristarchus. The tree is intact the other side. The tree is Aristarchus. The tree is cut, and salamander and giving us that hope. So the dodo, I guess the salamander is on the back of the dodo. There you go. And that's a symbolism of it. So out of ruins, or a salamander foregoes a limb for the sake of the greater core for survival, and later on only in time to regrow whatever is sacrificed. So I think the greater symbolism there. And it connects. It all connects, doesn't it? Anyway, but no one's interested. So anyway, let me now that's what I meant to say. Fucking hell, Jimmy Jedi, I heard you were dead. What am I going to say? Someone told me you were dead, or I heard recently you were dead. Now, if that's a sock account, what am I supposed to say? I hope you're not dead. Not quite yet, anyway. Just when everything is reaching its culmination. And even if you were dead, I'm thinking you mightn't be dead, like Rob Skiba. I don't think Rob Skiba might be dead as well, with 40 days and 40 nights in a coma. Now, of course, you know, JB, I know you were playing your part from the start, as I knew Rob Skiba was playing his part from the start. So where are you now? Well, wherever you are, I mean, I'm sure it's a good place, man. Yeah, so I just heard that, man, and the word's gone around. So if rumors of your death have been greatly exaggerated, Jedi, I mean, maybe should let people know. I'm not sure. I like all the Star Wars references. Luke Skywalker, Han Solo's a good one, right? Hidden Hand, Millennium Falcon. Okay, do you remember the Millennium Hotel? As you said earlier on, I was looking at my own personal monolith. That appeared in 9/11. Also appeared in Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Turret, how you doing, man? It's good morning where you are. It's well, actually, it's 40 minutes past midnight. So what do you reckon, John? Let me just put up a comment there. The elite's fairy tale paradigm has been slowly unraveling since 9/11. So much they are hoping UFOs will help them out. Who knows what's in store, man? There's great wonders to behold in the skies outside if we're only paying attention. Who knows what's in store? Honestly, I mean, we're not out of this yet. Back here in Ireland now, they're talking about the corona threat being back again. After they open everything up, put the prices up and everything, so like more pressure on everyone. And now the corona threat is back again. They're really squeezing the shit out of people. But I think it's for ultimately good purposes, maybe to wake people up. So when this transformative event comes, people will be riled. And hopefully in the right mind to spot bullshit on a mass scale. Many have missed all the bullshit. But deep down they haven't. So that's what I hope for. I think we're already saved. I think Eden has come to us, and now we just got to shake ourselves. And every individual has to be saved and shaken. So from our slumber, and you can't but deny that we've been helped in every way, John, almost since 9/11, especially. 9/11 conspiracy encouragement. But if you think about it, every affair after that, it's gradually more and more sort of apparent obvious. Think about 7/7. in 2005. Okay, sure, when we all met it, there was all of this reaction. But with later investigation, contemplation, man, it becomes clear that all of these things, especially with fakery in mind, that they were always meant to be disclosed as being fake affairs. And people, you get the question, how can so many people be involved in all of this? Well, because they know there's a greater story in play, and they also know that not many people, no one dies. No one dies in these fabricated affairs, but there's a greater symbolic tale. It's not a corrupt, in a sense, it's not a corrupt endeavor that they're involved in. They're sort of maybe actors on the greater stage. That's the way I look at it. We live in a metaphysical reality. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I don't know what I'm going to say in 5 seconds. My words come to me. I have a responsibility for my words, but I still know where they come from. We live in a metaphysical reality. Now, what have we the ability to work out or to piece together? Ask me, man. Ask yourself that. By the way, anyone wants to join, I'll put in a link in a few minutes. But yeah, there you go, John. 9/11 is such a significant. So if we understand that 9/11 was a movie and it was there to ultimately facilitate us to piece together a greater story, well, every movie has a great soundtrack. Kid A, motion picture soundtrack, song number 10. Says so much. And beyond that, then, there's a verse that's left off the album. So it's left off for probably good reasons. It's too telling. Beautiful angels. I've sang this many times, right? But beautiful angels, hold apart at birth. Aimless and helpless, I hardly recognize you. Bit obvious, isn't it? Bit obvious. Well, I don't deny that I have wings. The Creator wouldn't have created us without wings. So we'd have to look out at birds every day, free as birds, and you'd just be envious. No, so there's something else going on. But 9/11 certainly playing a central part, and that's the omitted verse from the departing song from the greatest soundtrack to the greatest blockbuster of our time. Make of it what you will. It's only when it come to flat Earth does it make sense. We put all the pieces together. I don't say not have all the pieces put together, but you can see there's a connection here, and well, everything connects in one way or another, anyway. Okay, Doombot, how you doing, bud? You say, hi, Peter, I cut out some of your moon stream and made a video. It's on my channel. Audio quality was kind of rough, though. Would you consider buying a better mic? I'd like to do more moon stuff. well, hopefully my mic is coming through okay now. I mean, I never paid too much attention to the production, or I never even, I could make 1,000 videos, man. I could write loads of books as well. I mean that. And that's like just on stuff that's, it's all about context. Yeah, I don't pretend for a second that the truth isn't always known, but about context, putting it together, like with 9/11. I wasn't first to say that Kid A had a synchronicity going with 9/11. What was presented just on the television? No, and I posted the links many times. I just connected it all in a different sense. 9/11 was taken to be real by this guy. But no, it's not real. It's fake. So there's a distinct connection because one is interconnected with the other. As I say, every great movie is a great soundtrack. And so I say the 9/11 movie was made at least a year in advance. And I have other reasons for saying that as well. Radiohead's album Kid A was released in 2000, October, Oct 8 again. But what are reasons for saying that? Anecdotal collaboration. And that's a fucking fantastic story. But I don't sort of want to repeat myself because, well, not repeat myself. I've been on for ages. Don't know what I'm going to talk about, really. Lots of stuff to talk about. But Doombot, go for it, man. I don't think there's any possibility of me taking it a little bit more seriously. I have a basic Asus laptop. 300 euros it was at the time. And served me very well. So I guess whatever's done anyway, you'll have to make do, and you're free to use anything you want. But there's loads of early stuff. There's good, loads of great stuff, that I hadn't expanded upon. I have my own hard drive here, where I have lots of different research, if you want to call it that, my own investigations sort of gathered. But I can't read it at the minute. It's going to take a bit of money to be able to pay for that, to be able to read it. But yeah, feel free to go through some of the earlier stuff, and especially where I make the comparisons between the moon and some of the planets like Venus. I think I did Saturn as well. I make an arsed up job of it. I know that, but I left it up anyway, and I didn't go to any more refined measures to sort of improve it. I just sort of moved on to the next thing. But take the bones of it. Take the bones of the idea, like my idea, the mirrored water layer over an extended span. It killed the globe back in 2016. I stick by it. The horizon will always tend to rise to eye level. If you're looking down at a river that extends over a flat plain to an infinite level, right? Well, then it's always going to rise to eye level. Now, if you notice a perceived dip, well, you've got to consider what is the ground composed of, which is water, and we know water is reflective. So water will reflect the backward sky. It's only when some target enters into that mirrored zone that it will show up via contrast. And then you also have to, via your perspective, gauge a greater panoramic scale. So, for instance, if you're looking at 70 miles or 50 miles, and the ship is 30 meters long, and you're looking at a water stretch from your perspective, which takes up a certain angle on the screen, but can encompass 5-10 miles over that extent. You've got to know these things. And that's where all the ball is gone. That's anything based on a ball or is fantasy. So everything can be thrown out immediately. Einstein included. Everything, because what they do is they identify the visible divide as the actual divide, and then they measure. This is how they tell you as well. They measure the dip angle between the visible horizon and what should be in place on a flat Earth. So they're telling you, which is horizon. So well, according to Rumpus, who's the best in anyway, we all know Rumpus here, but he's the best the opposition have to offer. One of them anyway. There's quite a few good ones there. But no one else is talking about this. No one else. Even amongst flat earthers, no one's talking about this. And back in the day, no one else was. But I didn't make a big deal about it. That's the point, because I fucking know it's already known. It's stupidly dumb. It's stupidly dumb, simple to understand. All you have to do is see beyond the ball. That's all you have to do. Not to say there's not other effects involved, but any miraging, any mirroring, I'm talking about specifically, is occurring along the water surface. You know. When you understand this, then we look at the skylights, and we look at the moon and the sun in a flat earth sense, well, mirror sky, because it's waters beyond. What you going to do? So anyway, listen. Let me. Okay. I will. So that'll have to be the last song. My mother's after coming in there. It's a great life. But that'll have to be the last time when I come back. Lakes of Pontchartrain. What will I will put on. Here we go. I'll give it maybe 8 or 9 minutes, and I'll maybe play the other 8 or 9 minutes at the end. I've played this before, but this is what it all boils down to. Okay, share screen. Okay, we should be set to go then. There you go. It's not too bad. 16:35. So actually 8 minutes is good. So that cuts it in half. But pay attention. So before I start this, I'll just say that, okay, remember I was talking about a crossword, a very difficult crossword, cryptic clues. The Bible is the first set of clues. If you can work out reality, or somehow you can make inroads towards reality in your relationship to reality from those clues alone. Well, good. That's brilliant. You're ahead of the masses. Now, beyond that, then the secondary clues, or the less difficult clues, comes in the form of the Gospel of Thomas, which was presented to us late in the game, which gives us a very different insight into what Jesus and, his words and his whole teaching. So I say that one of those clues in particular leads us to the final clue. And I think this is the final clue. The Gospel of Thomas clue is, I don't have the number to hand here, just paraphrasing maybe slightly, disciples asked Jesus, what are we to do when you depart? And Jesus advised that whatever you do, seek out James the just, because it was for his sake that the heavens and the earth were brought into being. So this is a pointer, to the best of my reckoning anyway, to the secret book of James, Gnostic texts, and it's 16 minutes long. So once again, go through the book of Thomas first of all, and see what you make of it. So I'll play about 8 minutes of it, and hopefully when I get back, I can play the Lakes of Pontchartrain down low, because it is pretty late here. And okay, I'll see you in a bit.
The Secret Book of James.
The Secret Book
The Secret
of James.
Book, or Apocryphon.
The Secret
James
Book, or
is a text
Apocryphon,
presented rather
James
like the
is a
letter
text
of
presented
Peter to
rather
Philip,
like the letter
within the
of
frame
Peter to
of
Philip,
introductory letter.
within the
As a
frame of
secret
an
book
introductory
with
letter,
sayings of Jesus
as a
that is
secret
followed.
book with
Remember,
sayings of Jesus that is
according to the
followed.
text,
Remembered.
this is the second
According
such
to the
secret book
text, this
that
is the
James
second
sent.
such a secret
The
book
letter
that
of
James
James is
sent.
addressed to someone
The
whose
letter
name
of
is
James
preserved
is addressed to
perfectly in
someone
the
whose name
papyrus,
is preserved
with
in
only the
perfectly
final
in the
three
papyrus,
letters in
with only the
Coptic or
final
Greek
three
visible.
letters in Coptic or
Some
Greek
scholars
visible.
have suggested the name or the
Some scholars
recipient
have
of the letter
suggested
may
the
be
name
restored
or the
to
recipient of the
designate
letter may be restored to
Cerinthus, a
designate
Christian teacher who
Cerinthus,
flourished in the
a
early 2nd
Christian
century,
teacher
who
who flourished in
proclaimed
the
a
early 2nd
Christology
century,
similar
who
to
proclaimed
the
a
view of
Christology
Jesus in the
similar
Secret Book
to
of
the view of
James.
Jesus in the Secret Book of
The
James.
Secret Book of James.
The Secret Book
James
of
writes
James.
to,
James
peace be
writes
with you
to,
from peace,
peace
love
be
from
with you
love,
from
grace
peace,
from
love
grace,
from love,
faith from
grace
faith,
from grace,
life from
faith
holy
from
life.
faith, life from
James
holy
Secret
life.
Books. You've
James
asked me to
Secret
send you a
Books.
secret book
You've
revealed
asked me
to
to
Peter
send
and
you
me
a
by the
secret book
Master,
revealed to
and I
Peter
could
and
not
me
turn
by the
you down,
Master, and I
nor
could
could I
not turn you
speak to you.
down,
So
nor
I
could
have
I
written in
speak to
Hebrew,
you.
and have
So
sent
I
it
have
to
written in
you and to you
Hebrew, and
alone.
have sent it to you
But
and to
since
you
you are a
alone.
minister of the
But
salvation of the
since you are a
saints,
minister
try
of the
to be
salvation
careful
of the
not to
saints,
reveal to
try
many
to be
people
careful
this
not
book
to
that the
reveal to
Savior
many
did not
people
want
this
to
book that
reveal
the Savior
even
did
to
not
all of
want to
us, his
reveal
12 students.
even to all of us, his 12
Nonetheless,
students.
those who will be saved through the
Nonetheless,
faith of this
those who will be
treatise will be
saved through the
blessed.
faith of this treatise will
10
be
months ago,
blessed.
I sent you another secret
10
book
months ago, I
that the
sent you
Savior
another
revealed
secret
to
book
me.
that the
Think
Savior
of that
revealed to
book
me.
as revealed to
Think
me,
of that
James,
book as
but this
revealed
one.
to me, James. But this one.
Jesus addresses Peter and James.
Jesus addresses
Now
Peter
the
and
12
James.
students were all sitting
Now the
together,
12 students were all
recalling
sitting
what the
together,
Savior had said to each of them,
recalling what the
whether
Savior
in a
had said
hidden
to
or an
each of
open
them,
manner, and
whether in a
organized
hidden
it
or
in
an open
books.
manner, and
I was
organized it
writing
in
what is in
books.
my book.
I was
Look, the
writing what is
Savior
in my
appeared
book.
after he had left
Look,
us
the Savior
while we were
appeared after
watching
he
for
left
him.
us while we were watching for him.
550 days after he rose from the
550
dead, we
days
said to him,
after he rose from
"Did
the
you
dead,
depart
we
and
said
leave
to
us?"
him, "Did you
Jesus
depart and
said,
leave us?"
"No, but I shall
Jesus
return to
said,
the place from
"No,
which
but
I
I shall
came.
return to
If
the
you want
place
to
from
come
which I
with me,
came.
come."
If you want to come
They
with
all
me,
answered
come."
and said, "If you
They
order
all
us, we shall
answered and
come."
said, "If you
He said,
order us,
"I
we
tell
shall
you the
come."
truth.
He
No
said,
one
"I
will
tell you
ever
the
enter the
truth.
kingdom of heaven
No one
because
will
I
ever
ordered it,
enter the
but
kingdom of
rather
heaven because
because
I
you
ordered it,
yourselves are
but
filled.
rather because you
Leave
yourselves
James
are
and Peter to
filled.
me, that I may
Leave
fill them."
James and Peter to me,
When
that
he
I may
called the
fill
two
them."
of them, he took them
When he
aside and
called the
commanded
two of
the
them,
rest
he
to
took
keep
them
doing what
aside
they
and
were doing.
commanded the rest to keep
The
doing what they
Savior
were
said,
doing.
"You have been
The
treated
Savior
kindly,
said, "You
have
have been
not been
treated kindly,
understood.
have
Do you
not been
not want to be
understood.
filled?
Do
Your
you not
hearts are
want to be
drunk.
filled?
Do you
Your
not
hearts
want
are
to be
drunk.
sober?
Do you
You
not
ought
want
to
to
be
be
ashamed.
sober? You
From
ought to
now
be
on,
ashamed.
awake or sleep,
From now
remember
on,
that you
awake
have
or
seen the
sleep,
human Son,
remember that you
and
have
have
seen the
spoken
human
with him and
Son,
have listened
and
to
have
him.
spoken with him, and have
Shame
listened
on
to him.
those who have seen the human
Shame
Son.
on those who have seen the
Blessings
human
will be on
Son.
you who have not seen
Blessings will
him
be
or
on you
associated
who
with
have
him
not
or
seen him,
spoken
or
with him
associated with
or
him, or
listened to
spoken
anything
with him,
from him.
or
Yours
listened
is
to
life.
anything from him. Yours is
Understand
life.
that he healed you when you were
Understand that he
sick, that you
healed you
might
when you
reign.
were sick, that
Shame
you
on
might
those who
reign.
have found relief
Shame
from
on
their
those who have
sickness, for they
found
will
relief from
relapse
their
into
sickness,
sickness.
for they will relapse
Blessings
into
on you
sickness.
who have not been sick
Blessings
and have
on you
known
who have
relief
not been
before
sick
getting
and
sick.
have known
The
relief
kingdom of
before
God
getting
is
sick.
yours.
The kingdom of
So I
God
tell
is
you, be
yours.
filled and leave no
So I
space
tell
in
you,
you
be
empty,
filled and leave
or
no
he
space
who
in
is
you
empty,
coming will
or
mock
he
you.
who is coming will
Being
mock you.
filled and lacking.
Being filled and lacking.
Then Peter answered,
Look,
Then
3
Peter
times you have
answered,
told us, be
Look,
filled,
3 times
but
you
we
have
are
told us,
filled.
be filled,
The
but
Savior
we are
answered and
filled.
said, For this
The
reason
Savior
I have
answered
told
and
you to be
said, For
filled,
this reason
that you
I
may
have
not
told you,
lack.
be filled, that
Those
you
who
may not
lack will
lack.
not be saved.
Those
To
who
be
lack
filled
will
is
not be
good, and to
saved.
lack
To
is
be
bad.
filled is good,
Yet
and
since
to
it is
lack is
also
bad.
good for you to
Yet
lack,
since it is
bad
also
for you
good
to
for
be
you to
filled,
lack,
whoever
bad for you
is
to be
filled also
filled,
lacks.
whoever is filled
One
also
who
lacks.
lacks is not filled in
One
a
who
way
lacks
another
is
who
not
lacks is
filled in a
filled,
way
but
another who
whoever is
lacks
filled
is
is
filled,
brought to an
but whoever
appropriate
is
end.
filled is brought to
So
an
you
appropriate
should
end.
lack when you can
So
fill
you should
yourselves and be
lack when you
filled
can
when
fill
you lack,
yourselves and be
that you may
filled
be
when
able
you
to fill
lack,
yourselves
that you
more.
may be able to
Be
fill
filled with
yourselves more.
spirit, but lack
Be
in
filled
reason.
with
For
spirit,
reason
but
is
lack
of
in
the
reason.
soul.
For
It is
reason
soul.
is of the soul. It is
Believe in
soul.
my cross. I answered
Believe in
and
my
said to him,
cross.
Master,
I answered
we
and
can
said to
obey
him,
you if you
Master,
wish, for
we
we have
can obey you if
forsaken
you
our
wish,
fathers and our
for we have
mothers and our
forsaken our
villagers
fathers
and
and our
followed
mothers
you.
and our villagers,
Give us
and
the
followed
means
you.
not to be tempted
Give
by
us
the
the
evil
means
devil.
not to be tempted by the
The
evil
master
devil.
answered and said, What good is
The
it to
master
you
answered and
if you
said,
do the
What good is
Father's
it to
will,
you
but
if
you
you
are
do the
not given
Father's
your part
will,
of his
but
bounty
you are
when
not
you are
given your
tempted by
part of his
Satan?
bounty when you are
But if
tempted
you
by
are
Satan?
oppressed by Satan and
But if you are
persecuted and do
oppressed
the
by
Father's
Satan and
will, I
persecuted
say
and do
he
the
will love
Father's
you,
will,
make you
I
my
say he
equal,
will love
and
you,
consider you
make you my
beloved through
equal,
his
and
forethought,
consider you
and
beloved
by
through
your
his
own
forethought,
choice.
and by
Won't you
your own
stop
choice.
loving the flesh and
Won't you
fearing
stop
suffering?
loving the flesh
Don't
and
you
fearing
know that you have
suffering?
not yet been
Don't you
abused,
know that you have
unjustly
not yet been
accused, locked in
abused,
prison,
unjustly
unlawfully
accused, locked in
condemned,
prison,
crucified without reason
unlawfully
or buried in the
condemned,
sand,
crucified
as
without
I
reason or
myself
buried in the
was by the
sand,
evil one?
as I myself was
Do you
by the
dare to
evil one?
spare the flesh?
Do
O
you
you
dare
for
to
whom
spare
the
the
Spirit
flesh,
is
O
walls
you for
surrounding you?
whom the Spirit is
If you
walls
consider how
surrounding you?
long the world has
If you
existed
consider how
before
long
you,
the
and
world has
how long it
existed
will
before
exist
you,
after you,
and how long
you
it
will
will
see that
exist
your
after
life
you,
is but a day,
you will
and
see
your
that your
suffering
life
an
is
hour.
but a day, and your
The good will
suffering an
not enter
hour.
the world.
The good
Disdain
will
death
not enter
then,
the
and
world.
care about life.
Disdain death then, and
Remember
care
my
about
cross
life.
and my death, and you will
Remember
live.
my cross and my death, and you will live.
I answered and said to him, Master,
I
do
answered
not
and said
mention
to
to
him,
us the cross
Master,
and
do
the
not
death,
mention to
for they
us
are
the
far
cross and the
from you.
death, for they are
The
far
master
from
answered
you.
and said, I tell you
The
the
master
truth.
answered and said,
None
I
will be
tell you the
saved unless
truth.
they believe in
None
my
will be
cross.
saved unless
For
they
the
believe
kingdom
in
of
my
God
cross.
belongs
For
to
the
those
kingdom
who
of
have believed
God
in my
belongs to
cross.
those who have
Be
believed in my
seekers of
cross.
death then, like
Be
the dead who
seekers of
seek
death
life.
then, like the
For
dead
what
who
they
seek
seek
life.
becomes apparent
For
to
what
them.
they seek becomes
And what is there
apparent
to
to
cause
them.
them concern?
And what is there
As
to
for
cause
you,
them
when you
concern?
search out
As
death,
for you,
it
when
will
you
teach you
search out
about being
death,
chosen.
it will teach you
I
about
tell
being
you the
chosen.
truth.
I
No one
tell you the
afraid of
truth.
death will be
No one
saved.
afraid of
For the
death will
kingdom
be
of death
saved.
belongs
For
to
the
those who
kingdom
are
of
put to
death
death.
belongs to those who are
Become
put to
better than
death.
I. Be
Become
like the
better than
child of the
I.
Holy
Be
Spirit.
like the child of the Holy
Be
Spirit.
eager for the word.
Be
Then I
eager
asked,
for the
Master,
word.
can we
Then I asked,
prophesy to
Master,
those who
can
ask
we
us to
prophesy to
to
those
them?
who ask us to
There are many who
prophesy
bring
to
a
them?
request to us
There
and
are
look
many
to
who
us to
bring a
hear our
request to us
pronouncement.
and look to us to hear
The
our
master answered
pronouncement.
and said, Do you
The
not
master
know
answered
that
and
the head
said,
of the
Do you not
prophecy was
know
cut
that
off
the
with
head of the
John?
prophecy was
But I
cut off
said,
with John?
Master, is it
But
not
I said,
impossible to
Master,
remove the
is
head
it
of
not
prophecy?
impossible to remove
The
the
master
head of
said to me,
prophecy?
When you
The master
realize
said
what
to me,
head
when you
means, and that
realize what
prophecy
head
comes from the
means,
head,
and that prophecy
then
comes from the
understand the
head,
meaning of its head
then
was
understand the
removed.
meaning of its head
First I
was
spoke with
removed.
you in parables, and
First
you
I
did not
spoke with you in
understand.
parables,
Now
and
I
you
am
did not
speaking with you
understand.
openly, and you do
Now
not
I am
grasp it.
speaking with you openly, and you do not
Nevertheless, you were
grasp
for
it.
me a parable among
Nevertheless, you
parables,
were for me
and
a
a
parable
disclosure
among
among things
parables,
revealed.
and a disclosure
Be
among
eager
things
to be
revealed.
saved without being
Be
urged.
eager to be
Rather be
saved without
fervent
being
of your own,
urged.
and if
Rather
possible,
be
outdo
fervent
even
of your
me.
own, and
For
if
this is
possible,
how the Father
outdo
will
even
love you.
me. For this is how the
Come to
Father
hate
will love you.
hypocrisy and evil
Come to
intention.
hate hypocrisy
Intention
and evil
becomes
intention.
hypocrisy, and
Intention
hypocrisy
becomes
is far from
hypocrisy, and
truth.
hypocrisy
Do
is
not
far
let the
from
kingdom of
truth.
heaven wither
Do
away.
not let the
It
kingdom
is
of
like a
heaven
palm
wither
shoot
away.
whose dates
It is
dropped
like a
around it.
palm
It
shoot whose
produces
dates
buds,
dropped
and
around
after
it.
they grew, its
It produces
productivity
buds,
dried
and after
up.
they grew, its
This is
productivity
also what
dried up.
happened with fruit that
This
came
is
from
also
the
what
single
happened with
root.
fruit that came
After
from
it
the
was
single root.
harvested, fruit was
After it
obtained
was
by many.
harvested, fruit was
It
obtained
certainly
by
was
many.
good.
It
Is it
certainly
not
was
possible
good.
to produce
Is it
a new
not
growth
possible to
now
produce a
and for
new
you to
growth
find it?
now and for you to find
Since I
it?
was glorified,
Since I
like
was
this once
glorified,
before,
like this
why
once
do you hold
before,
me back when
why do
I'm
you
eager
hold
to
me
go?
back when I'm eager to
After
go?
my labor,
After
you
my
have made me
labor,
stay with
you have made me stay
another
with you
18 days
another
because of
18
the
days
parables.
because of the
For some
parables.
people, it was
For
enough to
some
listen
people, it
to
was
the
enough
teaching
to listen to
understood.
the teaching
The
understood.
shepherds, the
The
seed, the
shepherds, the
building,
seed,
the
the
lamps of the
building,
young
the
women,
lamps of
the
the young
wage of the
women,
workers,
the
and the
wage of the
silver coins
workers,
of
and
the
the
woman.
silver coins of the woman.
Be eager for the
Be
word.
eager
The
for the
first
word.
aspect
The
of the
first
word is faith.
aspect of the word
The
is
second is
faith.
love.
The second
The
is
third
love.
is works,
The
and
third
from
is
these
works,
comes
and
life.
from these comes life.
The word is like a
The
grain of
word
wheat.
is like a grain
When
of
someone
wheat.
sowed
When
it, he
someone
had
sowed
faith in
it,
it.
he had
And
faith
when it
in it.
sprouted, he
And when
loved
it
it
sprouted, he
because he
loved
saw
it,
many
because
grains
he saw
instead of
many
just
grains
one.
instead of just
And
one.
after he worked,
And
he was
after he
saved because
worked,
he
he was
prepared his
saved because
food,
he
and
prepared
he
his
still
food,
kept some out
and he
to
still
sow.
kept some out to sow.
This is also how you can
This is
acquire the
also
kingdom
how
of
you can
heaven for
acquire the
yourself.
kingdom of heaven for
Unless you
yourself.
acquire it through
Unless you
knowledge, you
acquire
will
it
not
through
be able to
knowledge,
find it.
you will not be able to find it.
Understand the light.
Understand
I
the
say to you,
light.
be sober.
So I
Do not
say
go
to you, be
astray.
sober, do
And
not go
often have I
astray.
said to you all
And
together,
often have I
and
said
also
you
to
all
you, Long
together,
James,
and
be
also to
saved.
you, Long James,
I
be
have commanded
saved.
you to follow me,
I have
and I have
commanded you to
taught you
follow
how to
me,
speak
and I have
before the
taught you
rulers,
how to speak before
so
the
that I have
rulers,
come down and have
so
spoken
that I
and
have
have become
come down and
exerted
have
myself,
spoken
and
and
have
have
won
become
my
exerted
crown when I
myself,
saved
and have
you.
won my
I
crown when I
came down to
saved
live
you.
with you,
I
so you
came
might
down to
also
live
live with
with you,
me.
so you might
And when
also
I
live with
found that
me.
your houses had
And
no
when I
roofs,
found that your
I
houses
lived in
had no
houses that could
roofs,
receive
I
me
lived
when I
in
came
houses that could
down.
receive me when I
Trust
came
me, my
down.
brothers, understand
Trust
what
me,
the
my
great light
brothers,
is. The
understand what
Father
the
does
great
not
light
need me.
is.
A
The
father
Father
does
does
not
not
need a
need me.
son,
A
but it
father
is the
does not need
Son
a
who
son,
needs the
but
Father.
it is the Son
To
who
him
needs
I
the
am going,
Father.
for the
To
Father of
him
the
I am
Son
going,
is
for the
not in
Father
need
of
of
the
you.
Son is not in
Listen to
need
the
of you.
word. Understand
Listen to the
knowledge,
word,
love life, and no
understand
one will
knowledge, love
persecute you,
life, and no
and
one
no
will
one will oppress
persecute
you
you,
other than
and
you
no one will
yourselves.
oppress you other than you
Shame
yourselves.
on you, blessings on you.
Shame on you,
You
blessings on
wretches,
you.
you losers,
You
you pretenders
wretches,
to
you
truth,
losers, you
you
pretenders to
falsifiers of
truth,
knowledge,
you
you sinners
falsifiers
against
of
the Spirit.
knowledge, you
Do you
sinners
still dare
against
to
the Spirit.
listen when from the
Do you still
beginning you
dare to
should have been
listen when
speaking?
from the beginning
Do
you
you
should
still
have been
dare to
speaking?
sleep when from the
You still
beginning
dare
you
to
should have been
sleep when
awake
from the
so the kingdom
beginning
of
you
heaven
should
might
have been
receive you?
awake so the kingdom of
I
heaven
tell
might
you the
receive
truth,
you?
it is easier
I
for
tell
a
you the
holy
truth.
person to
It
sink
is
in
easier for a
defilement
holy
and
person
for
to
an
sink into
enlightened person to
defilement
sink into
and for an
darkness
enlightened
than for
person to
you to
sink into
reign or
darkness
not to
and
reign.
for you to reign
I
or not
remember
to
your
reign.
tears, your
I
mourning, and your
remember your
grief.
tears,
They
your
are far
mourning, and your
from us.
grief.
You
They are
who are
far from
outside the
us.
Father's
You who
inheritance,
are
weep
outside the
when you
Father's
should,
inheritance,
mourn and
weep
preach
when
what
you
is good,
should,
as is
mourn and
proper
preach
the
what is
Son's
good,
ascending.
as is proper the
I
Son's
tell you the
ascending.
truth, if I had been
I
sent
tell
to
you the
those who would
truth,
listen
if
to
I
me
had
and
been
had
sent to
spoken with
those
them,
who would listen
I
to me
would
and had
never have
spoken
come
with
down to
them,
earth.
I would
Now
never
be
have come
ashamed.
down to earth.
Look, I
Now
shall
be
be leaving
ashamed.
you and go away.
Look, I
I
shall
do
be
not
leaving you
want
and
to
go
stay with you
away.
any
I
longer,
do not
just
want to
as you
stay with you any
yourselves have not
longer,
wanted
just
this.
as you
Follow
yourselves
me
have not
quickly,
wanted
I
this.
tell you. For
Follow me
you I came
quickly, I
down.
tell you. For
You are
you I
loved
came
ones. You
down.
will bring life
You
to
are
many
loved
people.
ones. You will bring
Invoke the
life to many
Father.
people.
Pray to God
Invoke the
frequently, and He
Father.
will be
Pray to
generous
God
with you.
frequently, and He will be generous
Blessings
with
on
you.
one who has seen you with Him,
Blessings on
when
one
He
who
is
has seen
proclaimed
you
among
with
the
Him,
angels and
when He is
glorified among the
proclaimed among the
saints.
angels and
Yours is
glorified among the
life.
saints.
Rejoice and be
Yours
glad
is
as children
life.
of God.
Rejoice and be
Observe
glad as
His
children
will
of
that it
God.
may be saved.
Observe His
Accept
will that it may
correction
be
from me and
saved.
save
Accept
yourselves.
correction from me and
I
save
am meditating
yourselves.
for you with the
I
Father,
am
and He will
meditating
forgive you
for
many
you with the
things.
Father, and He will forgive you many
Few find the
things.
kingdom of heaven.
Few
When we
find the
heard
kingdom
this,
of
we were
heaven.
delighted.
When we
We had
heard this,
become
we were
gloomy
delighted.
because of what
We
we
had become
said
gloomy
earlier,
because of what
but when
we
we saw us
said
happy, He
earlier.
said,
But when we
shame
saw us
on
happy,
you
He
who are in
said,
need of an advocate.
shame on you who
Shame
are
on
in
you who
need of an
stand in need of
advocate.
grace.
Shame on you who
Blessings
stand
will
in need
be
of
on
grace.
those who have spoken out and
Blessings will
acquired
be on
grace
those
for
who have
themselves.
spoken out and acquired grace
Compare
for
yourself to
themselves.
foreigners. How are
Compare
they viewed in
yourself
your
to
city?
foreigners.
Why
How are
are
they
you
viewed in your
anxious to
city?
banish yourselves on
Why
your
are
own
you
and
anxious
distance
to
yourself
banish
from your
yourselves
city?
on your own and
Why
distance
abandon
yourself
your
from your
dwelling on
city?
your own? Make
Why
it
abandon
available
your
for those who
dwelling on
want to
your
live in
own and
it.
make it available for
O
those
you
who want to live in
exiles and
it?
runaways,
O
shame
you
on you, you will
exiles
be
and runaways,
captured.
shame on you, you will be
Or
captured.
maybe you think that the Father is a lover
Or
of
maybe you
people,
think that the
or that He
Father
is
is a
won
lover of
over by
people, or that
prayers,
He is
or
won
that He
over
is
by
gracious to one
prayers,
because of
or that He
another,
is gracious
or
to
that He
one because of
tolerates
another,
whoever is
or that
seeking.
He tolerates
He
whoever is
knows about
seeking.
desire and what the
He
flesh
knows about
needs. Does
desire
it
and what
not
the
desire
flesh
the
needs.
soul?
Does it not
The
desire
body
the
does not
soul?
sin apart
The
from the
body does
soul,
not
just as the
sin
soul
apart
is
from
not
the
saved
soul,
apart from
just
the
as the
spirit.
soul is not saved
But if the
apart from the
soul is
spirit.
saved from evil,
But if the
and the
soul is
spirit too
saved
is
from
saved,
evil,
the
and the
body
spirit
becomes
too is
sinless.
saved, the
The
body
spirit
becomes
animates the
sinless.
soul, but the
The
body
spirit
kills it.
animates the
The
soul, but
soul
the
kills
body kills
itself.
it. The soul
I
kills
tell you the
itself.
truth. He will
I
never
tell you the
forgive the sin of the
truth, He will
soul
never
or the guilt of
forgive
the
the sin of the
flesh.
soul
For
or
none
the
of
guilt of
those
the
who have
flesh.
worn the
For
flesh
none of
will be
those who have
saved.
worn the
Do you
flesh
think
will
that
be
many have
saved.
found the kingdom of
Do you
heaven?
think that many have found the
Blessings
kingdom
on
of
one
heaven?
who has seen
Blessings
oneself
on one
as a
who has
fourth
seen
one in heaven.
oneself as a fourth one in
Know
heaven.
yourselves. When we
Know
heard this, we
yourselves.
became sad.
When we we heard
But when
this,
he
we
saw that
became
we were
sad.
sad, he said,
But when he saw
I
that we
say
were
this to
sad, he
you
said,
that you may know
I say this
yourselves.
to you that you
The
may
kingdom
know
of heaven is like
yourselves.
a head of
The
grain
kingdom
that
of
sprouted
heaven is
into a
like a
field.
head of
And
grain
when
that
it was
sprouted
ripe,
into
it
a
scattered
field.
seed.
And when it was
And
ripe,
again
it
it
scattered
filled the
its
field
seed.
with heads of
And
grain for
again it
another year.
filled the field with heads
So
of
with
grain
you,
for another
be eager
year.
to harvest for yourselves
So
a
with
head
you,
of
be
grain
eager
of
to
life,
harvest for
that you may
yourselves a
be
head of
filled with
grain
the
of life,
kingdom.
that you may be
As
filled with
long
the
as I am
kingdom.
with you, pay attention
As
to
long
me and
as I am
trust in
with you,
me.
pay
But
attention
when
to
I am
me and
afar
trust in
from
me.
you, remember
But
me.
when I am
And
afar from you,
remember me,
remember
because I
me.
was with you,
And
and
remember
you
me,
did not
because
know
I
me.
was with you, and you did not know
Blessings will
me.
be on those who have known
Blessings
me.
will be on
Shame
those
on
who have
those
known
who
me.
have heard and have not
Shame on
believed.
those who have heard and have not
Blessings will be on
believed.
those who have not
Blessings
seen,
will be
but
on
yet
those who have
believe.
not seen,
And once
but
again
yet
I appeal
believe.
to you.
And once
I am
again I appeal
disclosed
to
to you
you.
as I am
I
building
am
a house
disclosed
useful
to
to
you as
you,
I am building a
when you
house
find
useful
shelter
to
in
you,
it, and it
when you
will
find
support your
shelter in it,
neighbor's
and
house
it will
when there is
support your
threats to
neighbor's house
collapse.
when there is threats
I
to
tell you the
collapse.
truth, shame on
I
those
tell
for
you the
whom I was
truth,
sent
shame
down
on
here.
those for whom I was
Blessings will
sent
be on
down here.
those who are going up to the
Blessings will
Father.
be on those who are
Again
going
I
up to the
warn you,
Father.
you who
Again
are,
I warn
be
you,
like
you who
those who are
are.
not.
Be
that you
like
may be
those
with
who are
those who are
not,
not.
that you may be with those
Do
who
not
are
let the
not.
kingdom of heaven become a
Do
desert
not let the
within you.
kingdom of
Do
heaven
not be
become a
proud
desert
because of the
within
light
you.
that
Do
enlightens.
not be proud
Rather
because of the
act
light that
toward
enlightens.
yourselves as I
Rather
myself
act
have
toward
toward you.
yourselves as I
I have put
myself have
myself
toward you.
under a curse
I
for
have
you
put
to save you.
myself under a curse for you to save you.
The last word. Peter
The last
responded to his
word.
comments and
Peter
said,
responded to his
sometimes you
comments and
urge us
said,
toward the kingdom of
sometimes you
heaven,
urge us
but at
toward the
other
kingdom
times
of
you turn
heaven,
us away,
but at
Master.
other times you turn
Sometimes
us
you
away,
encourage
Master.
us, draw us toward
Sometimes you
faith and
encourage
promise
us,
of
draw
life,
us toward
but at
faith
other
and
times you
promise of
drive us
life,
away from the
but at
kingdom
other
of
times
heaven.
you drive us away from
The
the kingdom
Master
of
answered
heaven.
and said to us,
The
I
Master
have
answered and
offered you
said
faith
to
many
us,
times,
I have
and have
offered you
revealed
faith many
myself to you,
times,
James,
and have revealed
and you have
myself
not
to
known
you,
me.
James,
Now
and you
I
have not
see you
known me.
often rejoicing,
Now I
and
see you
although you are
often
delighted
rejoicing,
about the
and
promise of
although you
life,
are
you are
delighted
sad
about
and
the
gloomy
promise of
when you
life, you are
bark out
sad
about the
and
kingdom.
gloomy when you are taught about the
Nevertheless,
kingdom.
you through faith and knowledge have
Nevertheless, you
received
through
life,
faith and
so
knowledge have
disregard
received
rejection
life.
when you hear
So
it. But
disregard
when you hear
rejection
about
when
the
you hear it.
promise, be
But
joyful
when you
all the
hear
more.
about the promise, be
I tell
joyful
you
all
the
the more.
truth, whoever will
I
receive
tell you the
life and believe
truth,
in the
whoever
kingdom
will
will never
receive
leave it,
life and
not
believe in
even
the
if the
kingdom will
Father
never
wants
leave
to
it,
banish him.
not even if the Father
This is
wants to
all I
banish
shall
him.
tell you at this time.
This is all I
Now
shall
I
tell
shall
you at this
ascend to the
time.
place from which I have
Now I
come.
shall ascend to the
When I
place
was
from
eager
which
to
I have
go,
come.
you have driven me
When I
on,
was
and
eager to
instead of
go, you have
accompanying
driven me
you have
on,
chased
and
me
instead
away.
of accompanying me,
Be
you have chased
attentive
me
to the
away.
glory that awaits me.
Be
And when
attentive
you
to the
have
glory
opened
that
your
awaits
hearts,
me.
listen to
And
the
when you have
hymns that
opened
await
your
me up in
hearts,
heaven.
listen to the hymns that
Today I
await
must
me up
take
in
my
heaven.
place at the right hand of
Today
my
I must
Father.
take my place at
I
the
have
right hand
spoken
of
my
my
last
Father.
word to you.
I
I
have
shall
spoken
depart
my
from
last
you,
word
for
to
a
you.
chariot of
I shall
spirit has
depart
carried
from
me
you,
up.
for a
And
chariot
from
of
now
spirit has
on I
carried
shall
me up.
strip that I
And
may
from
be
now
clothed.
on I shall strip that I
Pay
may be
attention.
clothed.
Blessings on those who
Pay
have proclaimed the
attention.
Son before
Blessings
he
on
come
those who
down,
proclaim
so
the
that
Son
when I
before he
did
come
come, I might
down,
ascend.
so that when I did come I
Blessing
might
3
ascend.
times over those who are
Blessing 3
proclaimed by the
times
Son
over
before
those
they
who are
came into
proclaimed
being,
by the Son
so that they
before
might
they
share
came into
with him.
being, so that they might
The
share with
messengers
him.
dispersed.
The
When he
messengers
said this, he
dispersed.
left. We
When
knelt
he
down,
said this, he
Peter and I, and
left.
gave
We
thanks
knelt
and sent our
down,
hearts
Peter
up to
and I,
heaven.
and gave thanks and
We
sent our
heard with
hearts
our
up to
ears and
heaven.
saw with our
We heard
eyes the
with our
noise of
ears and
wars,
saw
a
with our
trumpet
eyes the
blast of
noise
great
of
turmoil.
wars, a trumpet blast
When
of
we
great
passed
turmoil.
beyond that place,
When
we
we
sent
passed
out our
beyond that
minds up
place,
further.
we sent out
We
our
saw with our
minds up
eyes and
further.
heard with our
We saw
ears
with our
hymns,
eyes and
angelic
heard with our
praises,
ears
and
hymns,
angelic
angelic
rejoicing.
praises, and
Heavenly
angelic
Majesty,
rejoicing.
we're singing hymns,
Heavenly
and we
Majesty, we're
rejoice
singing
too.
hymns and we
Again,
rejoice
after
too.
this, we wish to send our
Again, after
spirits up
this,
to
we
the
wish to
Majesty.
send our
When we
spirits up to the
ascended, we were not
Majesty.
allowed
When
to
we
see or hear
ascended, we were
anything.
not allowed to
The
see
other
or hear
students called
anything.
to us and asked,
The other
"What did you
students
hear from
called
the
to us and
teacher?
asked,
What did
What
he
did you
tell
hear
you?
from
Where
the
did he
teacher?
go?"
What did he tell you?
We
Where did he
answered them,
go?
"He ascended.
We answered
He
them.
gave us
He
his right
ascended.
hand and
He
promised
gave us
all
his
of us
right
life.
hand and promised
He
all
showed
of
us
us
children
life.
coming
He
after us,
showed us
having
children
commanded us
coming
to love
after
them,
us, having
since we are
commanded
to
us
be
to love
saved
them,
for their
since we
sakes."
are to be saved for
When
their
they heard
sakes.
this, they believed the
When they
revelation,
heard this,
but
they
they were
believed the
angry about
revelation,
those who would be
but they were
born,
angry about
not
those who
wishing to
would be
give them
born,
reason to take
not
offense.
wishing to
I
give them
sent each
reason
of
to
them to
take
a different
offense.
location.
I sent each of them
I
to a different
myself went up to
location.
Jerusalem,
I myself
praying
went
that I
up to
might acquire a
Jerusalem,
share with the
praying
loved
that I might
ones who are to
acquire a
come.
share with the loved ones
I
who are to
pray that the
come.
beginning may come
I
from
pray
you.
that the
This is
beginning
how I
may
can be
come
saved.
from you.
They
This
will
is
be
how I can be
enlightened through me
saved.
by
They
my
will be
faith,
enlightened
and
through
through
me
another's
by
that is
my
better than
faith,
mine.
and through
I
another's
wish
that is
mine to
better
be the
than
lesser.
mine. I wish
Do
mine to
your
be the
best to be
lesser.
like them, and
Do
pray
your
that you may
best to be
acquire a
like
share
them,
with
and
them.
pray that you may
Beyond
acquire
what
a
I
share
have
with
said, the
them.
Savior did not
Beyond what
disclose
I have
any
said, the
revelation to us
Savior
on
did
their
not
behalf.
disclose any
We
revelation to us on
proclaim
their
a share
behalf.
with those for
We
whom the
proclaim
messenger
a
was
share with
proclaimed,
those for whom the
those whom the
messenger was
Lord has made
proclaimed,
his children.
those whom the Lord has made his children.
So ends the secret book of James.
So ends the secret book of James.